How do you handle change?
The reason most people don't embrace change or disruption is because they have emotional equity in the way they've always done it.
Shift your thinking.
The more you continue to hear what you can't do, where you can't go, and who you can't become, there is a neurological path that is created in the brain that causes individuals to shut down.
Go to the next level.
Just don't do it the way you've always done it, but take it to another level.
Renowned speaker, author of his best-selling Shift Your Brilliance, Harness the Power of You, and creator of the Shift Your Brilliance system. Get ready to embrace change. Simon T. Bailey.
Good morning. Let's try it again. Good morning. Do me a favor, look at the person that you're sitting next to, look him in the eye, and tell him after last night's party, you look amazing. Somebody said, I look amazing and I feel amazing. Well, it's good to be here. Welcome to the creator economy, where men and women as creators understand how to shift their brilliance. In the creator economy, men and women understand that a job is what you're paid to do, but releasing your brilliance is what you're made to do. In the creator economy, a paycheck is given to people who show up, but opportunities are given to people who choose to go above and beyond what they're paid to do. How many are excited to be in the creator economy? Now, the question I often get asked is, Simon, how did you become a creator? And what's so interesting is a number of years ago, I was working here at the happiest place on earth. And whenever you work here at Disney, Mickey Mouse rule number one is you never talk to the media unless authorized. Everybody got it? Never talk to the media unless authorized. So one day I got a call from a journalist and he said to me, Simon, where do you see yourself 10 to 15 years from now? And I said, I see myself as the president and CEO of the Walt Disney World Resort and eventually the chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, and he puts us in print. So, article comes out, page 12, Florida Business Trend magazine, and at the time, I was sales director of the Disney Institute. So my boss calls me in the office, and he's like, dude, help me. What were you thinking when you did this interview saying you wanted to become the #1 guy at Disney? And I said, Larry, I work at this company whose motto is, if your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme, for when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are, but obviously it does here. So, it's funny today, but it was not funny then. And I think what's so crazy about it is the people at branding, they had a little out-of-body experience, because if you look at this picture really closely, you'll see the Mickey Mouse topiary right here. And so I got a call a couple hours later from one of the senior vice presidents who reported directly to the president, Al Weiss. And his name is Jim Lewis, and Jim was like, dude, do you need me to go to the president on your behalf, because this is like the beginning of the end? I said, no, I'll be fine. So HR shows up a couple hours later, and they said, would you please sign right here? So I signed this little piece of paper that went into my personnel file, and let's just say Disney didn't fire me that day, but about a year later, I heard the footsteps coming, and they were not singing It's a Small World after all. So I decided, because I kind of sensed that things were getting ready to shift, and so I decided to put my resume out on the street, and I got 4 job offers, 2 vice president's offers, going to work at other companies, small companies, and a senior director position with Learjet to head up all customer care for Learjet owners in the world. And I turned all the jobs down because, like you, I answered 3 questions. Question number 1, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Very important question. Question number 2, what would I do if no one paid me to do it? And then question number 3 is what makes me come alive. That third question came out of a book I was reading at the time, written by an author named John Etheridge. And in John's book, Wild at Heart, John says, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who come alive. And when I read that, creators, it's like the 4th of July fireworks went off in me, because what I recognized is I had worked at Disney as a great organization, absolutely loved what I was doing, but when I was even getting ready to leave Disney, I said, I gotta go and do this thing. And so today, we teach organizations and individuals how to shift from average to brilliant. Why? Because average is over. Average is done. Average is history. It is all about how do I operate in my brilliance. So I need all of you to do a favor with me. Everybody take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And I want you to say this. Say Simon says, I am brilliant. All right, somebody says, Simon says, I'm brilliant. We're going to try this again. I want you to use your outdoor voice indoor like you were partying last night at Hollywood Studios. I want you to find your inner chutzpah, and I want you to say on 3, Simon says, I am brilliant. 1, 2, 3. Simon says, I'm brilliant. All right, turn to your neighbor and say, I'm brilliant, but I'm a little concerned about you, okay? Which one of y'all kicked me? So the question people often ask me, okay, Simon, this is great. What is brilliance? Brilliance is your insight, it's your potential, it's your genius, it's your it factor. When you are living your brilliance and doing what you do really well, you experience flow. When you are in flow, there is an alignment of head, heart, and hands. When I have an alignment of head, heart, and hands, my feet will follow because I am doing what I love. When people are not operating in their brilliance, not doing their best work, what happens sometimes is they are unfulfilled, unhappy, and uninspired. And if they stay in that state, sometimes they'll start complaining, or they may become more negative than an undeveloped piece of film. And so when I talk about brilliance, it's understanding how do I tap into my brilliance? How do I understand when it's time to shift? So people say, Simon, how do you know when it's time to shift? Well, here's the deal. You will come to a place where you become uncomfortable being comfortable. And when you reach that point, oh brilliant one, it is time for you to shift. When I first started writing and talking about brilliance, I based it on some of the research work of Dr. Howard Gardner, who is professor of education at Harvard. Dr. Gardner, he and his team of researchers did an interesting study over a 20-plus year period, and what they discovered is that children up until the age of 4 are operating at the genius level. In their late 20s, only 10% were still operating at the genius or brilliance level. And as they got older, it diminished. So the question that you have, like I had, is where did this genius or brilliance go? It didn't go anywhere, but it became buried by a society that says color within the lines, sit down, give it back, you can't do that. And the more a person continues to hear what they can't do, where they can't go, and who they can't become, there is a neurological path that is created in the brain that causes individuals to shut down. So what happens is they go through life having this potential, this insight, this genius in them. But here's what I've discovered over the last decade since leaving the Mouse House and working with almost 1,000 organizations on 6 continents. Your brilliance, that thing that makes you come alive, is ignited in an environment where you are celebrated rather than tolerated. And when I'm in an environment that celebrates me rather than tolerates me, that environment invites me to be a vitamin, not just an aspirin. And when I understand how to be a vitamin, not just an aspirin, I will be brought to a place where the universe will invite me to experience what I call vujade. Everybody say vujade. Vujade is the opposite of? Deja vu means been there, done that. Vujade is going there, doing that. How does a creator know when it's time to vujade? How does a creator know when it's time to unleash the inner salmon to swim upstream? A creator knows when it's time to take everything to another level. Everybody say, take it to another level. Raise your right hand with me. All right, raise your right hand, and I want you to put a little neck action in it in a moment, and I want you to say, take it to another level. I want you to feel it, all right? On 3. 1, 2, 3. High five your neighbor. Make sure they're awake with the program. So when I know it's time to vujade, what will happen is I will ask myself 4 questions. Please make the note. Question number one, where have I been? So a creator will look at everything that they have done thus far, and they will say, where have I been? How did I get to this point? Question number two, why am I here? The greatest tragedy in life is not death. The greatest tragedy in life is to be alive and not know why. And there are a number of people that wake up every single day, the lights are on, but nobody's at home. They're one fry short of a picnic, right? So the why am I here question is critically important. Third question is, what can I do? So when I vujade, when I get ready to shift my brilliance, I will ask myself, what can I do? Let me tell you why that question is so important. Dr. Christian Mirsky, who is at Princeton University Psychology Department, says, when the brain is worried, the brain slows down. And when the brain slows down, it doesn't create neurogenesis, which is the process of growing neurons, which grows the brain. When I looked at his research, I Simonized it a little bit, and I said, wait a minute. So if the brain slows down because of worry, worry has a BFF called stress, and stress has a first cousin called fear. And when stress, fear, and worry get on the same page, they begin to slow down a person's operating system. And when a person's operating system slows down, what happens is they are not operating at the optimal level. So they have to vujade and understand, how do I find my internal Control-Alt-Delete button so that I can operate in my brilliance? And when you do that, you literally begin to live from the inside out. But it starts with the what can I do question. Fourth question, where am I going? Where am I going? So when I answer all four questions, where have I been? Why am I here? What can I do? And where am I going? This is the process to vujade, to flip the script, to begin to say, how do I take it to another level and create an awesome story? I want you to listen to this story of a person who found a way to vujade their life and take it to another level.
I discovered kind of a side world of blogging back in 2007 when I was pregnant with my oldest. And so I was looking for a creative outlet. I came from a magazine background, so writing and editing was my thing. And I sort of started thinking about, all the moms staying at home and decided to write kind of about that, about life, about the things we use, about the things we do, things we like. Honestly, it started off totally as a hobby, and I had no idea that it would ever become a full-time career, full-time job. I didn't even know that was a possibility at the time. I'd never met a full-time blogger, and I just kind of started dabbling and started writing and wrote about things we liked, wrote about places we went, things we did, crafts, that sort of stuff, and it picked up from there. So at some point, the Suburban Mom went from being my hobby to being a full-time job, and it did not happen overnight. Then in 2012, my husband was actually laid off from his company. And at that point, we looked at it and we had a choice. I could either go out and try to find a job and pay for daycare, having been out of work for all these years, or I could really ramp up what I had started doing. IZEA is a company that helps connect brands with creators like myself and allows creators to monetize their platforms. IZEA has helped me take my blog from a hobby to a full-time job. 2 years later, I am still blogging, and I love it. I certainly put in a lot more hours than the typical 9-to-5 job, but those hours are spent between taking my daughter to dance, putting my daughter down for a nap. Blogging has given me the opportunity to stay home with my girls and yet still have a full-time job. One of the great things about working with IZEA is that when I'm presented with a brand, it is my challenge to figure out how this brand connects with me and how it's going to connect with others. And then I figure out how I can best show that example to my readers, whether it's by showing photos, showing how I'm going to use this with my kids. The doors have opened for me to do all kinds of new things that I would have never thought possible. I've traveled to movie premieres, I've taken trips with my family that I would have never dreamed of, and it's opened up this whole new world to me that I enjoy being part of, and that's the best thing. I'm staying home and I am working from home, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. I like what I do, and that's what I do. My name is Jen Berg of The Suburban Mom, and I'm a creator.
I love Jen's story because Jen is really talking about that whole thing of being a creator. A few years ago, I said to our team, what is it that we know about people like Jen and people who are the best of the best at what they do? And the team said to me, they said, Simon, what we discovered is that there's a difference between being average and being brilliant. People who are the best of the best in what they do, they understand how to be totally present to the moment. They understand how they show up. As you begin to work through this list, you'll see something that says, average men and women, they communicate, but brilliant producers who are spot on understand how to connect. A book that I want you to get a hold of is a book written by Seth Godin. It's called The Icarus Deception. And what Seth is saying, we are now in the connection economy. I was just a couple of weeks ago in New York City at the invitation of Publicis Group, and the CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi was there, and they were saying right now is that there's now 3 seconds. You have 3 seconds to connect. 3 seconds to connect in this hyper over-communicated world that we live in. So those who connect and take it to another level are the ones that really, really stand out. You may recall on yesterday that Lauren Thomas made a very powerful statement. She said, do you want a paycheck or are you pursuing partnerships? And one of the things you'll notice on this list is that brilliant producers really look at how do they build relationships. Why is that important? Relationships are the currency of the future. So when we really begin to understand relationships, I relate to the cargo in your ship. And wherever you are going on the ocean of life, you take me with you because we have a relationship. The other powerful thing is you'll see something on this list that says brilliant performers and brilliant producers really understand authentic listening. Ladies, you have 2 problems with men. Only 2. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. Ladies, the 2 problems we have with us men is we don't talk, we don't listen. And when we talk about ourselves, and when we listen, we have selective hearing. But guys, I'm not going to leave us stranded. How many realize that we all can be better listeners? Yes? Here's the net takeaway as it relates to brilliant producers. I was just with American Express last week, and we were sharing this whole concept of what listening really means. And I said to them in a stream of conscious, I said, brilliant producers who really understand how to stop selling, start connecting, will move to what I call meta-listening. Meta-listening is when you begin to listen between the sentences. Meta-listening is when you begin to say, here's what I heard you say, but is this what you meant? And those who are meta-listeners in this economy will tap into their intuitive intelligence to say, here's what you have brought forth, but here is what I also want you to consider. Have you thought about this? And it's in that meta-listening that you understand that the same letters that spell the word listen spell the word silent. So when I am really silent, I'm tapping into how to take this relationship to the next level. The last thing you'll see on this list that we discovered that brilliant producers do is they are curious. I was interviewing Rick Goins, who's the chairman and CEO of Tupperware, and he's been there for about 20 years. And I said, Rick, what does curiosity mean to you as the CEO of a $3 billion entity? And he said to me, curiosity is the ability to see what's not yet. It's the ability to look around the corner and to see the hidden opportunity. He says, those men and women who will be the best in their field have the ability to ask questions which immerses them on a quest to discover an answer that was waiting to emerge. And when he started saying this, I was like, whoa. So then I looked at my own business and I said, what questions are we asking ourselves right now? How do we stay relevant? How do we take it to another level? And one of the things I've recognized is what has gotten us here, in the words of Marshall Goldsmith, won't get us there. So what are some things that we need to, in the spirit of Disney, that we need to let go? Because when we let go, some of y'all will catch that later. I know it's early on Saturday morning, but bump. One of the things that I had to let go when we look at our business is I had to let go of rejection. A few years ago, I had started sending my video almost 5, 6, 7 years in a row to an organization called the $1 Million Roundtable, which is very big in the financial insurance industry. And for a speaker or an author to get on that platform, to get on that stage is like a big deal. And for literally 5, 6 years straight, they rejected me. Sorry, you're not ready yet. Sorry, you're not good enough. And my assistant said to me, she said, Simon, let's stop beating our head up against the wall trying to get on that platform, because anybody, when you get there, you know, they say, you have arrived, you have made it. So I said, okay, you're right, we're gonna stop doing that. And she said, what are you gonna do? I said, you know what, I just need to work on getting better. So I hired a coach, and this coach started working with me on just shaping what I was doing just to get better. And all of a sudden, last year, we got a call from the $1 Million Roundtable. They reached out to us, and they said, we want you to come, and we want you to be opening speaker. We want you to do a keynote for 9,000 people from 72 nations. And they said, we looked at 800 videos, and we think you're ready now. And what I realized in that moment is that rejection is the greatest gift. Just because somebody rejects you and says no, it doesn't mean no forever. It just means no, not now. And what is it that I need to let go of? How do I, like, you know, move on and step it up and say, what is it that I'm gonna do to get better? And I really think it starts with saying, how curious am I about what's happening in my business real time? So the question often I'm posed with is, okay, Simon, how do I begin to think about living my brilliance every single day? And I'm gonna ask you to do me a huge favor. Would you write down these numbers? Write down 15-7-30-90. 15-7-30-90. By the way, if you play these numbers tonight and they hit, don't forget about your new BFF, all right? All right, starting tomorrow morning, I want to invite you to get up 15 minutes early. Now, I know that might be a stretch, but just hang with me for a moment, 15 minutes early. And would you consider taking the first 5 minutes just to meditate, just to get quiet, just to slow down? Right now in Silicon Valley, Deutsche Bank, Google, Facebook, they have meditation rooms because what they realize in a hyper-stress environment, people need a way to slow down. What I am proposing, taking the first 5 minutes of the day to just get centered. One of the things we realized in our research of looking at how people move from average to brilliant is that men and women who move from average to brilliant, they understand how to be effective, not just busy. And how they get there is that first 5 minutes of the day. Second 5 minutes, read or listen to something that inspires you, all right? And the third 5 minutes, stretch and get aligned with the day. Because Rabbi Harold Kushner, who wrote the book, What Matters the Most in Life, Rabbi teaches this whole concept called emotional congruence. He says, when you're operating in congruence, there is an alignment of how you think, what you say, and what you feel. So what happens is when you show up and people show up in your life, you connect because you understand when you're fully aligned, it's not about the push, it is about the pull. And creators who are operating in the zone, understanding flow, they don't chase money, money chases them. Because as a creator, I understand that 15 minutes a day, I am rewiring how I'm going to show up, so when people come into my matrix, they understand that I have found my inner Neo, and I am the one to help their brand take it to another level. Now, here's how the formula works. 15 minutes a day impacts 7 days a week. 7 days a week impacts 30 days. 30 days impacts 90 days. How many seasons are there in a year? 4. How many quarters are there in a year? 4. So every 90 days, how did I get to this point? It came as a result of what you did 30, 60, 90. How did you get there? 7 days a week. How did you get there? 15 minutes a day. Here's what we've discovered in this whole work of helping people think about shifting their brilliance. The secret to sustaining brilliance is hidden in your daily routine. You don't decide the future. I know that sounds like an oxymoron for a creator, but you don't. You decide your habits, and your habits decide your future. So when I understand that 15 minutes a day, I get centered to become better. Now, some people may say, Simon, I'm not a morning person, I'm a night owl. Okay, here's how it works for you. 15 minutes before your head hits the pillow, first 5 minutes, unwind, write in your journal. Second 5 minutes, read something that inspires you before you fall off into the night season. And then the last 5 minutes, most doctors will say don't stretch and then lay down, so do something else to unwind. But what is it that you can do? Because that 15 minutes before you go to bed at night, as you enter into the night season, as you wake up the next day, what you'll discover is you will have an epiphany, you will have an aha, you will have what they call is the Eureka Moment, where you will say, aha, I know what I need to do, because you understand your brilliance, all right? Now, I want to leave you with this story. One of the things I've noticed about IZEA is all about customer love. Everybody say customer love. All right, let me teach you the Simon T. Bailey way of saying customer love. Everybody get your hands up like this, all right? Now watch me on 3. I want you to say customer love, and I want you to step into it. I want you to put a little oomph into it, put your back in it, and say customer love. All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, customer love. All right, let me tell you what customer love looks like. A few months ago, I was in San Francisco flying to Columbus, Ohio via Detroit, Michigan. So the plane gets to Detroit and my connection flight to Columbus is canceled. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? And there was a flight leaving a little bit later on, so I said, okay, great, I'll get on that flight. Guess what? That flight is canceled because of weather. So now I have to either stay in Detroit or drive to get to Columbus. So I called my favorite aunt in Detroit, and she said, baby, don't you get on that road. You come on by. I got some good hot fried chicken for you. So I go by, see my aunt. We're there, and I said, Aunt Rosa, I have got to get on this road because I have a very important meeting the next day. So I get on the road, and I get to Columbus about 2 a.m., and I say, you know what, I don't have my clothes, the airline couldn't find my luggage, whatever, I'll just deal with it in a few hours. So sure enough, get up, and I go to my phone, and I hit the Yelp app to find out if there's a men's store anywhere in the vicinity, and there's about 5 stores. Now it's about 8:30 in the morning, my meeting's at 10:30, so I call the first store. Sorry, we don't open to 10. Call the second store. Sorry, we don't open to 10. This is kind of going downhill. I get to the 5th store, and I get a live person on the phone about 8:45, and she said, I literally spam her when she comes to the phone. I'm like, oh my God, I need to buy some clothes. She said, 1 minute, let me transfer you to my manager. So she transfers me to Trina. Trina gets on the phone, and I tell her my dilemma. I said, I've got a very important meeting with Cardinal Health, their entire executive team at 10:30. I need to buy a suit or some clothes so I look presentable. And she said, you know what? We normally don't do this, but I want you to pull around to a certain part of the mall, and we're gonna have security roll up the doors, and you can come in and buy whatever you need to do. I'm like, oh my goodness, I am now feeling the customer love. So sure enough, I drive around, and they roll up the door, and I'm met by Ahmed. And Ahmed says, guess what? I've already picked some things out for you in the dressing room. I go to the dressing room. He's got a blue blazer, khaki slacks, a blue shirt, a burgundy tie, and a pair of shoes already picked out for me. And he says, guess what? We just happen to have a tailor here on site. So if you need anything that we need to take up, we'll make that happen. I'm like, oh my goodness, I am feeling the Nordstrom love right now. So I go to the counter to pay for it. And ladies, something that you don't know about men is sometimes when men notice another thing and a guy, he may not say anything, he'll just hint at it. So I guess he discovered that I was travel worn, my hands were ashy. I mean, I was just, it was just a bad situation. So I'm standing there at the register and he just slides a little lotion on over to me. Like, wink, wink, you need a little lotion. And I was like, gotcha. So I put the lotion on. And now I am walking out of the Nordstrom store, $1,400 later, feeling the love. I get in my car, and I said, this was amazing. Not only do I have what I need to wear, but I have time to spare. I'm going to tweet this out. I tweeted the experience. In 2 minutes, I get a tweet back from Nordstrom Corporate saying, thank you so much for your business. We can't wait for you to shop at our store again. I'm like, shut the front door. You have got to be kidding me. 5 minutes later, I get a tweet back from Ahmad and Trina from the store saying, thank you so much. We hope you have a great meeting at Cardinal Health. If you're ever in Columbus again, come back and shop. I said, you know what? This is unbelievable. But it didn't stop there. I decided to write a blog about this entire experience. And the blog went viral. And at the end of the blog, I put, shh, tell those other 4 stores, don't open, just stay closed, because Nordstrom is gonna suck up all the business. Because they understood how to create customer love. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in the happiest place on earth. And the whole secret sauce of Disney is not in the theme park business. They are in the business of creating moments. The one thing I walked away with when I was here at Disney was that when you understand to create that moment, give a little something extra for nothing, that's what people remember. So as creators, I want you to think about, what is it that I can do to shift my brilliance, to go above and beyond, not because I have to, but because I want to. Because what you want wants you. And when you give a little something extra, that becomes the emotional deposit into the emotional bank account of the brands that you serve. And as you serve them, the brands become your unofficial marketing department to say, we have got to have that creator back again. Because that creator understands in the creation economy, in the creator economy, we are the ones that are truly Oh Brilliant One. And as Oh Brilliant One, I understand how to show up and take it to another level. I am Simon T. Bailey, and doggone it, I approve this message.